G'day, it's Jamie, and welcome to Tantanoola Tigers. Today, I'm reading part 3 of the Native Cat War, which is about letters to the editor for the column The Naturalist in the Australian Country Journal about the native cat or quolls. So we'll get into it. This first letter was published in the Australian Town and Country Journal on Saturday the 26th of July, 1884, titled The Naturalist, the Native Cat. It is fortunate for those interested in Australian natural history that such gentlemen as Mr. Rotten and Mr. Pearce cannot barricade the avenues that lead to scientific discovery and scientific truth. It is fortunate that they cannot stop or stamp out discoveries which clash with and would disturb their pet notions and antiquated and long-exploded theories. It is fortunate, extremely fortunate, for the happiness of keen, inquiring, restless mankind that these gentlemen do not possess the keys that unlock the gates of the extensive and various domains of knowledge. The haughty tone and dignified sarcasm assumed and employed by these gentlemen would not, I assure them, silence or overawe me, for I dread not their sarcasm. Mr. Rotten has been pleased to term me a theoretical naturalist, and tells me almost in the same breath that he possesses only a good practical knowledge of the habits, mode and breeding, etc., of nearly all animals indigenous to the colony. Now, notwithstanding the good practical knowledge, I am prepared to appear with him before any competent board of examiners and test my knowledge with his in any branch of Australian natural history he may be pleased to name. If what he has published by any criterion, I don't envy Mr. Rotten his good practical knowledge, I have proved my own satisfaction several strange truths in connection with marsupial cats. These truths are not theoretical nor abstract, but sternly concrete and practical, and were not derived from books but obtained by a prolonged and careful study of these animals in every stage of parturition, and by constant and unsparing employment of the dissecting knife and the microscope. I wish it to be distinctly understood that I am not now referring to the common variable native cat, Dasyurus vivarinus. I have proved beyond all question of doubt that if this cat gave birth to, say, 10 young ones, she would put them all in the pouch and allow them to remain there until as many could find teats attach themselves. Out of this number, it is highly probable that only 5 would find milk giving teats to attach themselves to. In some instances, 6 might. Suppose then, which is generally, if not always the case, that 5 have attached themselves to teats, the mother would allow the remaining 5 to stop in the pouch until they became troublesome to her or died of inanition, and then would throw them out. On the correctness of the foregoing statement, I am prepared to stand or fall, and if I understood the meaning of the words Mr. Rotten challenges the truth of this statement, denies that the mother ever throws any of the young ones out of the pouch, and emphatically asserts that the cat in question rears 9 young ones annually. Mr. Rotten has now committed himself to certain distinct statements. I now challenge him to prove them. If Mr. Rotten cannot substantiate his statements, not only will he prove me in error, but will eclipse the fame of 2 of the most eminent naturalists of our day, and hand down his own name to perpetual celebrity. Let us then have no hearsay statements from Mr. Rotten. Let him produce a native cat with 9 young ones on the teats in the pouch, and I will acknowledge myself defeated. The good practical knowledge of this subject which Mr. Rotten claims to possess will of course enable him to catch one of these cats in proper season. Mr. Rotten thinks it strange that so many writers differ from me. I don't think it's strange at all. When a writer finds himself surrounded by a set of contradictory and irrelevant critics, it is a sure sign that he has broken fresh ground or capsized someone's hobby horse. But it is not true. It is highly disingenuous of him to say that all the writers have disagreed with me. Your correspondent, FW, whose knowledge is evidently less superficial than Mr. Rotten's, has been all along and still is in complete harmony with me respecting the number of young at birth. He describes the small cat accurately, a test of a good practical knowledge, with which Mr. Rotten has been too shrewd to attempt, and entirely agrees with me as to the scarcity of the tiger species. Speaking of the common native cat, FW says that they generally have 5 to 6 young at birth. I never saw native cats with as many young ones as Mr. Rose, and this, he says, was proved by experience. The criticism of Lewis A. Pearce deserves no attention. His first article is rambling, irrelevant, and his last harmonises perfectly with his first. The contempt of this writer, either silent or demonstrative, will trouble me but little. He now has beaten a retreat, carrying with him the skull of a tiger cat, all that remained of what was once so dear. Let us hope we have heard the last of him. The world will jog along without him, and in his absence, I venture to say, scientific discovery will not stand still. I am, etc., H.J. McCooey. P.S. I acknowledge that my experience of hen roosts is not very profound or extensive, and my thirst for scientific truth never tempted me to explore one at night time. I have always considered, and still consider, that if a man caught me on his hen roost, any excuse I might offer about being there in the interest of science would go but a very short distance in removing his scepticism or saving me from a blow of a lump of coal or half a brick. But I actually have seen clucking hens repeatedly chase and put flight to native cats which have come near their nests. H.J. McCooey, the end. In reply to Mr. McCooey's challenge in your issue of May 17 to send one of our so-called tiger cats to the curator of the museum, I forwarded one to the curator of the Queensland Museum as being the nearest from here, and herewith enclosed that gentleman's very courteous reply. The animal did not correspond with McCooey's description, having the spots of yellow tinge and the thumbs on the hind feet fully developed. Total length 2 foot 9 inches, and not at all scarce in this district. In conclusion, I would remind McCooey that his critics merely gave their own personal experience acquired in the bush from the wild animals, and not from the domesticated specimen as McCooey, and leave the public to judge who is the chimney corner naturalist. Charles Noach, Boonoo, near Tenterfield, June 14. 2. Charles Noach, Esquire, Dear Sir, the native cat you kindly sent, which arrived in capital condition, is certainly Dager's maculatus. This is the only Dager in which the tail as well as the body is spotted. Tiger cat is rather a worse term than native cat, and is more apt to confound the beast with the native tiger of Tasmania. And moreover, if we must have comparative names, leopard would soon be more appropriate. C.W. Davis, Curator, Queensland Museum, the end. In the district I am in, there are 3 different kinds of the native cat, and also what is called about here the tiger cat, and which I believe is the real tiger cat. The idea of a person saying that the tiger cat will not touch the fowl roost is simply absurd. I have known the tiger cat to carry off full-grown fowls and eat nearly half the fowl. I have also known native cats to attack roosts and kill as many as 6 and 8 chickens in one night. Mr. McCooey says it is very seldom one meets with one tiger cat in the settled districts. Now, the district I am in is a settled district, and I could find Mr. McCooey a tiger cat in less than a month. Thus, to be plain, Mr. McCooey is not much of a traveller. In another part of his article, he says native cats never have more than 5 young ones at a time, and if they do, they throw all but 5 out of the pouch. I have caught two different kinds of native cat in the same long, and one had 8 young ones clinging to teats, and the native cat had 7 young ones and 8 teats. So Mr. McCooey has made another mistake. Native cat, Carcoar, June 10th, the end. This final article was published in the Australian Town and Country Journal on Saturday the 2nd of August 1884, titled The Naturalist, Native Cats. At the risk of being set upon by your Dubbo correspondent, I have ventured to send my small book of knowledge concerning native cats, as the above gentleman's statements are likely to lead poultry keepers into trouble by throwing them off guard. I have lived for 25 years in the bush, seldom less than 5 miles and generally from 30 to 50 miles from a town, in various parts of the colony between Sydney, Wagga, Bourke and Armidale. I have killed over 300 native cats and kept 2 tame, so I think I may venture to say I know something about the animals. First, to describe them: from 9 inches to 12 inches, from snout to butt of tail, tail about 3/4 the length of the body, colour like a strong wash of raw sienna, rather darker towards the back, and shading off to white on the belly, sides and back spotted with white. Spots from 1/4 of an inch to 1/3 of an inch in diameter, and from 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch apart. End of tail white, snout pointed, ears pointed and erect, feet armed with claws. Number of young from 4 to 5, sometimes 6, and on one occasion I found 7. Food: beetles, grasshoppers, lizards, young birds, eggs, and often full-grown poultry. As our friend objects to unproven evidence, I will only state what I've seen. On the Blue Mountains, I heard a noise among the poultry in the fowl house. On going in to see what was the matter, found 2 hens dead, 1 duck badly torn, and a common native cat with his stomach full of blood. In New England, I was sitting outside a selector's house just at sundown. A hen was bringing her 2 chickens home when a common native cat jumped out of some of the bushes and tried to take a chick. The mother interfered when he dropped the chick and seized her by the neck, dragging her some yards before the dog got to him and finally hung onto the dog's paw till his skull was crushed. Near Armidale, I was sitting at the tent door, the sun just going down. I was watching a magpie feeding her young when a common native cat walked up the limb the nest was on and, in spite of all the old birds could do, ate the young ones. Any bushman knows that as a rule, if we accept hawks, and I must add native cats, a magpie is more than a match for any living thing 3 times her weight, sometimes for even the average schoolboy. Up the Lachlan, I was stopping at a farmhouse. The farmer's son and I got up on hearing a noise in the fowl house. Thinking that some shearers who were camped near there were making a raid, we let the dogs loose and then opened the door of the fowl house. A hen turkey that was sitting was dead, the throat and under wing being torn. I positively state this at the risk of being set down a brother belonging to Tom Pepper, Ananias, and other well-known truth-tellers. I should like to see your correspondent in a room full of old male native cats, let alone a clucking hen. He would wonder where the temerity he speaks of was gone to. Of the tiger cat, I can say but little, having only killed 2, one of which nearly killed a terrier in a fair fight. I was told by respectable residents of New England that they were very numerous, and an old shepherd near Yass showed me the skins of 15, which he stated he killed in 4 months, so I fancy they must be very tolerably numerous. As regards the platypus, our Dubbo friend is perfectly correct, and if he can only do as he directs others and state what he is certain of, we should read his articles with pleasure. But he certainly ought not to assume that because he has not seen a certain thing, it is impossible. No man is infallible. Even so learned a naturalist as Mr. Bray stated that the ring-tailed possum did not build a nest, but only took possession of nests built by birds. The fact being that nest building was the rule, the taking possession of a bird's an exception which may have occurred in Mr. Bay's presence, but never in mine. The nest of the ringtail possum is built of bracken fern and bark, about a foot to 18 inches outside diameter and 6 to 9 inches inside, with the entrance on the inside. I am well acquainted with most of the birds in the colony, and none build a smaller nest than I know of, and I never saw a ringtail at work carrying ferns up to its nest. Your correspondent also doubts Rum Rider because he had seen 9 young on the teat of a native cat. A cat usually has 4 teats, but never one with 5 fully developed. A bird has 2 legs, but I once owned a hen that had 3. It's therefore quite possible that the native cat may in rare instances have 9 teeth. I trust more charity will be shown for the future. Should the letter be worth insertion, I may give a few more facts of natural history at a future date. O.H. Lenthal, Nagle Creek, yeah. Oh, this has been a classic. Listen to all this. This McCooey, he's made a few mistakes, and instead of just owning them and letting them be, he's attacked everyone. He called them, what I thought was funny was corner chimney naturalists, which is virtually saying there are armchair critics. This is typical of a lot of the Facebook groups. That's why I coined it in the first one. It's like 1880s Facebook groups. Just about every Facebook group I'm in, there's 1 or 2 blokes that are like H.J. McCooey that come out with statements that are questionable, and it's their way or the highway, and that's it. And if you've got anything different to say, well, it's not on. And if you do question them, they go on the attack and start calling you names like armchair experts, and they can't help themselves. They've always got to have a reply, and I'm expecting there's going to be a part 4 to this native cat war, in the fact that O.H. Lenthal got the last word in and not H.J. McCooey. And if going by what he has written before, he won't be able to help himself and he'll have to have the last word. And just as a point, the pictures that I've been using of him, they're actually mugshots. So that'll probably tell you all you need to know. Okay, that's it from me. I'll get back to you all next time. Bye.